Okay guys, so this is a very important video because it highlights some of the most important existential limitations and things that we are forbidden from since we are born. The Vatican Library, that's right, one of the most guarded sites in the world, but it has some issues, and this is the issue here. Its protection is more serious than at any existing nuclear power plant, okay? Just imagine for a second, let me just repeat that. Its protection mechanisms are more serious than an actual power plant. In addition to numerous Swiss guards, the library is guarded by modern automatic systems which form several levels of security, okay? Now, the secret archives of the Vatican City become known in 1611 under Pope Paul V. Only a very limited number of people could get in. Some scientists with a letter of recommendation can get into the Holy of the Holiest, but the entrance is regulated and allows only 2 people per year. This is to the most forbidden parts of the library. The library has different areas. Some areas are more permissive. Some areas are obviously more restricted because the information is very sensitive, as in it could change the way we understand history and our past and just absolutely everything about the origin of humanity. Now, at the same time, check this out, the entrance to the archives does not imply free movement. Oh no, you think you can go there and just touch everything you want? No sir. So the visitors have to indicate beforehand the topic of interest, and then the appropriate literature is selected for these people. So even then, the ability to move freely is greatly limited, okay? Just imagine for a second. Yeah, so the answer to my question, I think to all of your questions, is the following. What is it that they're so desperate to hide in there? Well, for example, could be the Library of Alexandria, the Library of Ivan the Terrible, the libraries of some of the most important cities in the world which were forgotten and moved in there, and maybe the knowledge is so dangerous that it could literally just bring the end of humanity or the evolution of humanity and the freedom of humanity, which certain powers of the elites right now have no interest in allowing people like you and me to become free in this world. But just think for a second there. This is amazing, alright? Security which is even higher or as high as a freaking nuclear plant for paper documents, okay? That's crazy, guys. That is just crazy. Moving on to the following list, we were talking about books. What about these massive, huge books? I mean, some of you guys have seen these pictures in other YouTube channels. My question is the following. Some people have said that this is not true, they're not made for giants, but look at some of the writing, some of the letters in some of these giant books. It's quite massive, right? Quite gigantic. The next thing, why would humans go through so much effort to make these giant books, which actually requires at least 2 people to carry these books around? Doesn't make any sense, does it? No sir, it does not, unless the person reading this book was most likely about 6 meters high approximately, and then it would make sense because they could grab the book with just one hand and then read the text from the book. But that's just an example. That's just one example of how this is even possible, and of course how even official, history tries to lie you in your face by giving you fake reasons when we all know that this guy's just literally, it just doesn't make any sense. And inside our own brain, our own instinct tells us that there's more behind the story than just an artist or a painter or a writer just making this for the fun of it, just because of artistic purposes, or just because a king at a court ordered this for like themselves because they wanted a nice piece of art. No, this is way deeper than just that. This is not a vanity item. This is not a vanity item. This is really important. This is an item which was used by giants back in the past, and I strongly believe that these people were, like I said before, at least about 6 meters high, or maybe even more. Talking about gods or Nephilims or people from the past, people with different knowledge and of course different ways of showing themselves. This is from the Museum of Gold in Bogota, and this figurine is actually called God from Heaven. The material is extremely hard and his approximate age is about 6,000 years. In the figurine we can see clothing which is similar to a spacesuit, and also an anatomical chair which kind of molds itself around the person, similar to what we know as memory foams, for example, which is quite a modern technology, right? So again, the answer to this question, guys, remains unknown, but I believe that there's much more behind this artistic, carving or stone, whatever you want to call it, because someone doing this, they have to have more than just imagination. They have to have inspiration because they've seen someone who looks exactly or very similar to this. Now, we know about books, we know about sculptures, what about boats? So there's a big issue right now because giant, massive ships have been found at the bottom of Lake Nemi in Italy, and they are just completely unexplainable. In Italy, a large-scale archaeological expedition was conducted on Lake Nemi in the early 20th century. A ship which is 60 to 70 meters long and 20 meters wide was actually discovered. It had marble columns, floors and statues, ceramic pipes installed that actually heat the floors, or they were used to heat the floors. Just imagine, right? And also the hull was actually triple planked with lead in 54 AD. That is just crazy, guys. How crazy is that? What kind of technology, what kind of secret this boat had to have to protect something under 3 layers of lead? Was it something nuclear? Was it something dangerous? Was it potentially a technology from a different world which would be highly unstable under the atmospheric conditions of Earth, for example? Many questions, guys. Of course, the answer to this is unknown, but still quite unique. And to finish off this video, I want you to look at this. This is an example of how technology back in the day was very different. At the left we have Buddhist temples, at the right we have a Tesla transformer. Scientists explain to us these structures are only for religious purposes, right? The Buddhist temples. But in the past, there have been very specific technical purposes related to the accumulation and the transmission of electricity or the etheric energy in air, maybe even atmospheric, okay? These towers are not the only ones, there are so many more, and guess what? We have no idea how they work, but my guess, my hunch is that people from the past, from hundreds of years ago, they harnessed this electricity and they used it for their own purpose or benefit, or to serve a common cause, as in for a war, for something, for the society, for an event, who knows. But these towers, guys, I have a feeling that they were actually kind of like atmospheric accumulation of etheric energy, potentially, in space, in the space around them, as in the air, and maybe they were transformers. And maybe they were using this energy to create electricity, for example. It could be anything, guys, but to be honest, just a temple for religious purposes when it's so similar to a Tesla transformer, I'm sorry, but myself, I just cannot buy that whatsoever. So guys, that's it for today's video on the secrets of the world. As always, things are much more deeper than you think, and be careful because many times what they tell you in the official news is complete lies, because if you look deep enough, you'll find there's so many inconsistencies and also lots of omissions, because the official news just loves to omit everything which is not in their own interest, and of course it's questionable history or questionable information which does not tie in with the actual narrative. So guys, that's it for today's video. As always, I shall see you later in the next upload. Bye.